Society and the media tell us that to be beautiful is to look a specific way, and that way is simply unachievable.
No. Looking that specific way is unachievable for some people, and it's completely effortless for other people.
For example, to me, a good-looking guy is just a cherry on top.
Right. If they're mediocre looking.
I'm okay with a guy that's not that good looking.
You overlook the fact that they're mediocre because of their personality, their kindness, their intellect. Sure. But if they're hideously ugly, and this is what we're supposed to be talking about here, is real ugliness. Part of the answer to the commodification of beauty in the year 2020 is the commodification of ugliness. People are now making money selling you lies about ugliness, even if it's not nearly as many people as are making money out of selling you lies about beauty. Ditch the Label is a foundation that proves the point.
I feel like ever since being in college and going out with my friends, I've never noticed. It's always my friends who get noticed by boys. No matter how much I try to get over it, it still bothers me not being quote unquote pretty enough.
While it is true that a minority of people truly are beautiful and are merely overly self-critical, imagining themselves to be ugly, this has become a pretext to bully and denigrate and marginalize the people who really are struggling with ugliness. And those are the people who need our help, who need our sympathy at least, most of all. So this is from the website of this foundation, Ditch the Label. Some anonymous person writes in and says, quote, "I'm ugly and I know it. I'm very ugly. I just hit 23 and I look like I'm 40 years old, have hair loss, and a weird face which makes everything worse. I really don't know what to do anymore. I've been meditating for a year every morning and night. It has helped me to shut down my bad feelings and thoughts about myself by just observing them, but it doesn't help me in my overall life because everyone is still treating me like I'm a monster, and some of them actually say it right to my face. It's very hard for me to find a job because I couldn't continue school because literally 80% of people bullied me and I just couldn't keep up with no help around me. Every night I go to sleep and I hope not to wake up the next morning and just die peacefully." Close quote. Meditation is not going to solve this problem. Okay? This is someone who's dealing with ugliness and its impact on their life. This isn't someone who's dealing with low self-esteem. This isn't someone who's objectively beautiful but disappointed that they're not able to rise to the top of the heap on Instagram in the competition for endorsements and modeling contracts. It's like, no, this is about ugliness and the demoralization of being ugly in a superficial society. I'm going to read how this foundation replied. I want you to pause for half a moment and ask yourself how you would reply if you were being paid a salary working for a foundation that's supposedly specialized in precisely this sort of issue. This foundation claims, quote, "All of our interventions are evidence-based, which means that we are continuously using data and innovation to improve the support that we provide to young people. We don't patronize young people. Instead, we empower them with skills, techniques, and knowledge that enable them to resolve their own situation." So you got that straight? They're not going to be patronizing. They're going to provide skills, techniques, and knowledge that will actually solve this person's problems on the basis of social science research. Here it is. I'm sorry you've experienced this from others. You do not deserve that in any way. We are surrounded by so many images telling us what we should look like, what is and isn't ugly. But we all have beauty and value. Not patronizing at all, right? This is clearly evidence-based social science, clearly. I know it's hard, but it is easy to slip into believing what random people say rather than those that love you and care about you. Right. not patronizing at all. You should just believe when your parents tell you that you're beautiful, and you should not care about the very real problems this person has reported to you from their life, day by day, how they were treated at school, how they're treated at job interviews. No, you're goddamn wrong. It's not your parents' opinion of how beautiful you are that matters. It's the opinion of random people. It's your experience in society at large. That's exactly the problem we're supposed to be dealing with here. That's exactly what we're supposed to be addressing. The struggle, the plight of people who are actually ugly. The truth is, no one is ugly. Loving yourself and building confidence does take work, but you are worth the time. Trying to be optimistic is great, but also listen to your mind when you're feeling low, as it's okay to be upset as well. It's definitely worth building up a good network of friends, as this is super empowering. Wow, it's a good thing we left this to the professionals. When they say get professional help, this is what they mean, people. Get in touch with the professionals at this foundation. They won't patronize you. Oh no. They're going to provide an intervention that's evidence-based, providing you with skills, techniques, and knowledge that will enable you to resolve your situation. If someone has the strength of character to tell you that they're ugly, this is what they're struggling with, this is what's making them suffer, this is what's ruining their lives, how dare you say back to them, no, the truth is no one is ugly. If you think you're ugly, it's just a figment of your own imagination. And this is being presented, it's 100% insincere. You haven't even seen a photograph of this person. This could be someone who's really quite deformed, or someone who is not just subjectively, but objectively ugly. And you can say, oh, beauty's in the eye of the beholder, and it's a little bit different from one culture to the next, but guess what? Some people are so ugly that they are really considered ugly in every culture. Some people are so hideous that it's hard to look at them. And it's hard for them to get a job and all these other things. And it's hard for them to get through school. That was what we're supposed to be talking about here.
Ditch the label. We believe that everyone is beautiful, regardless. We know from our research that appearance is a huge concern for people, with 51% saying that they were bullied because of attitudes towards the way that they look. Overall, 1 in 2 told us that they want to change their appearance, and some would even consider invasive plastic surgery. We've had enough. So we sat down to discuss ways to promote positive body image online. Searching using key terms like I'm ugly, I wish I was pretty, I look horrible, we found thousands upon thousands of people who had tweeted negatively about their own appearance. Every single day throughout the week, we sat down and we reached out to those in need of a little confidence boost. Using our template, we customized the graphic to directly respond to individuals' comments and tweets.
So you think that's what's going to solve this problem, is 100% insincere flattery from someone who doesn't even care, someone who doesn't even know what you look like, someone who doesn't care about what your struggle is, someone who's getting paid to lie to you, to flatter you. It's sick.
It is important to remember that everyone is beautiful in their own way. We shouldn't let the media dictate what is beautiful or attractive. So now it's over to you. Get involved and help spread some positivity by complimenting people who have lost sight of how beautiful they actually are. If everyone was happy and confident in themselves, then the world would truly be a more beautiful place.
So what is this priceless advice that this well-funded foundation has to offer? When people tell you that you're ugly, you can say back to them, sorry, that is just not true. You can try doing daily affirmations, such as saying, I am whole just the way I am. You can tell yourself, I am perfectly imperfect. You can also put posties around your mirror, Post-it notes. Just write on little pieces of paper and stick them up around the mirror, giving compliments to yourself. That'll solve the problem. Turn up the positive and turn down the negative. Give it a try. It takes a little while. Also, meditate. This really helps to clear your thoughts. Here's an anonymous person writing in saying, honestly, it's just a relief to know there are others that feel this way. I went through life just accepting the fact that I am ugly and that I will never be found beautiful by anyone. Of course, my family will tell me I'm beautiful, but outside of them, not once has anyone ever told me I looked amazing or stunning. Every time I think that I've finally accepted this fact as reality, I find myself crying at the fact that I'm going to die alone because nobody will ever find me attractive. Even now, typing this, there are tears in my eyes as I think about all the negative thoughts and feelings I've had throughout these years. Why can't I just accept the fact that I will look this way my whole life and will stay single forever because no one will ever find me beautiful? So what's the advice we get in reply from this? From the experts, from the team, from the staff over at Ditch the Label. That's a real shame that you think this way. See, it's all in your head. Because everyone is beautiful. The problem is just that you think this way.
I want to say that feeling not pretty has little or nothing to do with actually being pretty, because you can actually be one of the most conventional, good-looking people in the world, but you can still feel like the ugliest person in the world.
Beauty is subjective. I may be a pretty girl to many of you, but I'm also an ugly girl to many of you. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
What you think you are, you become. So the moment that you say you are awkward and not good looking, I truly do believe that you become awkward and, not good looking.
Yeah, right. It's all in your head. The person you had a crush on in high school who rejected you every time or even found it disgusting or laughable when you tried to hit on them, it's all in your head, right? Think about that. Right? Look, my own experience in life, I'm not conventionally attractive. I might be unconventionally attractive. But I mean, like the first girl I ever had a crush on in high school, she was older than me. I think she was 2 years older than me. But at that time, even a 1 year age gap is significant, in high school. She was significantly older than me, and she already had a boyfriend, and I still managed to seduce her. This is, one of the kind of formative experiences in life. And I learned from that experience. One lesson I took from it, I just didn't feel anyone was unattainable or out of reach. The most beautiful girls in high school, if I just talked to them like a normal human being, if I just talked to them the same way I'd talk to a guy, yeah, I had options. That was my experience starting as a very young man. Not everyone has that experience. You can call me ugly, all right? Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I may be ugly to you, all right? But I do not have the problem that people actually feel uncomfortable looking me in the eye. I do not have the problem that I get turned down at job interviews for being too hideous to hold down a job behind the counter at Starbucks or, working in a clothing shop or something. A lot of those jobs, implicitly, they want people who are good looking. It's not just a bias towards good-looking people. They will actively reject and shut down people who are considered ugly. It doesn't matter if you want to say it's subjectively ugly or objectively ugly. It's an objectively real problem in the lives of some people. And some people have to bear the burden of feeling rejected, not just by the first person they had a crush on, but by the first person, the second person, the third person, by every single person they had a crush on in their lives, and they eventually come to the disappointing conclusion that nobody wants them because they're too ugly. And aren't those the people who need our help? Aren't those the people who need our sympathy? Not the people for whom, as you say here, quote unquote, it's all in your mind? If that's true for some people, I don't know if it's 10% of people or 6% of people, no matter what it is, shouldn't we be trying to help the people who really have this problem when it's not all in your mind? It's a real shame that you think this way. If only really attractive people got partners in the world would end because no one would procreate. People of all different looks and walks of life fall in love. Looks is only such a small part of that.
For example, to me, a good-looking guy is just a cherry on top. I'm okay with a guy that's not that good looking, but we have great chemistry.
For mediocre people, this might be okay advice. For people who are just moderately attractive, this might be okay advice. But you're supposed to be helping people who are ugly, people who know that they're ugly. And as this person writing in said, people who are in a situation where nobody has ever wanted them and they feel they're going to die alone because nobody finds them attractive. Your appearance is only a small part of being attractive. Yeah, that's pretty face privilege, okay? If you are a mediocre or good-looking person, you have the privilege of saying, oh, my appearance is only a small part of what people find attractive to me. Right, but when you're hideously ugly, if you have a deformed skull, whatever, you have a chronic skin condition, no, this is denigrating to exactly the people they're pretending to help, they're pretending to offer assistance to. You fall in love with people's personality and kindness Looks aren't really such a big thing, right? If they're mediocre looking. You overlook the fact that they're mediocre because of their personality, their kindness, their intellect. Sure. But if they're hideously ugly, and this is what we're supposed to be talking about here, is real ugliness. So I am daring to ask the question, does it help people to tell them being ugly is not real, that it's just a delusion? Hi, I've read the mission statement for the website, and I understand that you're trying to help people, and that you say your methods are based on social science research. However, what I see demonstrated at these forums is tantamount to gaslighting. 1. People write in complaining that they're ugly and describing the various problems this has in their lives. 2. A representative replies, without having seen a photograph of the person, insisting, nobody is ugly, you are not ugly, you just think or feel that you're ugly, but this is some kind of subjective delusion. Even if this approach were viable or fruitful with some percentage of people, presumably social science research would demonstrate that it is not useful 100% of the time. Yes, some people are pretty or plain and think of themselves as ugly when they really are not. However, I have known people with deformed skulls. I have had coworkers born with serious facial deformities, and I met one man briefly who had the middle of his face caved in by a bullet wound in war, and no, he didn't have any miraculous reconstructive surgery. These people are real. They really exist. Their ugliness is objectively real, not a subjective delusion created by looking at bikini models on Instagram, and their suffering matters too. I do not understand how this methodology came to be used universally and indiscriminately on this website, and by your foundation in various contexts, that is to say, I understand your work isn't limited to this website. If some people genuinely struggle with, for example, deformed faces, deformed skulls, if they're born with conditions that really do make their bodies impossible to rationalize as beautiful in the eye of the beholder, etc., how can it possibly help them to insist, as you have done innumerable times, nobody is ugly, etc.? It would seem to me that these people need the help most of all, not the small minority of people who are objectively beautiful but have this subjective delusion that they can never be beautiful enough. Does nobody care about the fate of people who are actually ugly, even if it is convenient to pretend that they do not exist? Quote unquote, nobody is ugly. Isn't that just further marginalizing and stigmatizing them? Isn't that marginalizing and stigmatizing the people who really do struggle with objectively real ugliness? Pretending that it is their own attitude that's the problem is even more harmful. When they can reply, as an objective fact, I have a deformed skull, facial deformity, people look at me with horror and pity everywhere I go, etc. Yes, these problems exist on a sliding scale, but the approach of your foundation is to deny that the problem exists at all. Who does that help? How? What social science research do you have to back this up?